Hello and welcome to NDTV. I'm Ankit Tyagi. Interim relief for YouTuber Ranveer Allahbadia, who has been booked in 2 cases linked to his controversial comments on the online show India's Got Talent. Supreme Court has stayed his arrest but has also asked him to cooperate with the investigating agencies and not to travel outside the country. There was also rebuke for Allahbadia after the relief.
Let's take a look at what are some of the big observations which have come through from the Supreme Court on this very important case. The Supreme Court also had in fact raised the issue of online content regulation. In fact, asked the centre whether there was a plan to curb obscenity on online platforms. Let's take a look at what the Supreme Court said on that matter. Now, the Supreme Court has in fact said that there is a vacuum when it comes to controlling or regulating online content, and in fact asked the centre whether they have a plan in place and that the top court would be very happy if the government does something about it. The Supreme Court also went on to say, if we go into the next point, that this is a very sensitive issue because YouTube channels are being misused. That's what the Supreme Court said, that they cannot overlook this matter and in fact urge the centre to ensure that the government councils, both the Attorney General as well as the Solicitor General, actually help the Supreme Court or assist the Supreme Court on this matter when it comes to online content regulation. Coming back to the case of Ranveer Allahbadia. Now, as I said, that there was relief as well as rebuke. Let's look at the strong comments which have come in from the Supreme Court on Ranveer Allahbadia's remark. The top court said, if this is not obscenity, then what is? Of course, the Supreme Court was commenting on the remarks that he made on that particular show. The Supreme Court goes on to say that it shows a very perverted mind. There's something very dirty in his mind, and also adds that it is an insult to parents as well. The top court points out and in fact asks, remember Ranveer Allahbadia had approached the Supreme Court for saying that there are multiple FIRs against him, and the Supreme Court says, why should we protect this individual? And lastly, the top court says that influencers must know, influencers like Ranveer Allahbadia, that they cannot take society for granted. But what's the relief in store now for Ranveer Allahbadia? The Supreme Court, very importantly, of course, the first thing that it did was that it has given him interim protection from arrest, but at the same time has told Ranveer Allahbadia to join police investigation. Remember, it's been several days now that the cases have been filed both by the Mumbai police, the Maharashtra Cyber Cell, as well as the Guwahati police. But Ranveer Allahbadia has not recorded his statement with either of them. The court also asked him to submit his passport and, in case he needs to travel abroad, to take permission from the court. And lastly, the Supreme Court said that there will be no shows recorded online by Ranveer Allahbadia till further orders. So these are some of the top observations which have come through from the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court has issued a slew of directions to the government on remission and premature release of convicts. The Supreme Court has said that it is the obligation of the government to consider premature release of all eligible convicts, even if the convict or his relative have not made any such plea on the convict's behalf. Eligible convicts should be considered for remission by state irrespective of the fact that he has applied for it or not. Supreme Court has directed the state and the union territories who do not have a remission policy yet to formulate a remission policy under Section 432 of the CRPC or Section 473 of the BNSS. My colleague Nupur Dogra, in fact, joining us at this moment with more details on this. Nupur, quite an important, in fact, the hearing as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, and the court has also asked states who do not have a remission policy to come back with a remission policy. This will help a lot of people, those who have been languishing in prisons for a very long time.
Yes, in fact, this is a very big judgment from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has passed these directions to the state governments and union territories across India, saying that they must come up with a remission policy. Remission basically means premature release of convicts who have been convicted of some crime or offense they have committed. They are in jail, but many a times they become eligible for remission, that is, premature release before their sentence is completed. So the Supreme Court has made this, given out these list of directions that the states must follow in granting remission. And the Supreme Court, in a very big development, has said that the state can consider eligible convicts for remission even if they have not applied for remissions by themselves or anyone else has not applied on their behalf. The Supreme Court has said that it would be unjust for eligible convicts to remain to languish in jails just because they don't have the means or they don't have applied for remission. So this in fact, these number of guidelines are also issued by the Supreme Court that the state governments must keep in mind while granting remission. That is, they even if they are refusing remission or granting this remission, they must specify the reasons for doing so in that order. So the Supreme Court today has laid down such detailed verdict, and has laid out guidelines for the state governments and union territory governments, authorities to follow while considering such cases of remission. Yes.
Thank you for joining us with all those details. Moving on, the Supreme Court has granted bail to British national Christian Michel in the 3,600 crore Augusta Westland scam case. The FIR itself dates back to 2013 and the investigation has continued for 9 years. Now, this was pertaining to the alleged scam which related to the purchase of 12 VVIP helicopters from Augusta Westland. In fact, the court granted bail, citing the long delayed trial. In 1993 Bombay blast case accused Abu Salim has moved Bombay High Court. The underworld gangster has moved the High Court seeking premature release. Salim is serving life's imprisonment in Mumbai. All right, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, United States of America and Russian delegations met in Riyadh on Tuesday in an attempt to end the Ukraine-Russia war. This is the first face-to-face talks between the two countries to end the longest war in recent history. Significantly, Ukraine did not get a seat on the table for discussion. United States and Russia have decided to set up a high-level team. Significantly, the Russian spokesperson said they have no objections to Ukraine becoming a member of the European Union.
Less than a month after Donald Trump took office and just 6 days after his call with Russian President Putin, top U.S. and Russian officials wrapped up over 4 hours of talks in Riyadh on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The talks came as Kyiv and its European allies were sidelined and as Moscow introduced a significant new demand. The high-level talks, which were attended by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, aimed at strengthening ties and finding a resolution to the almost 3-year-long war. Rubio said that both parties agreed to restaff their respective embassies in Washington and Moscow and appoint high-level teams to continue negotiations. He also called the meeting the first step of a long and difficult journey, further adding that in order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides.
For us to be able to continue to move down this road, we need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally. The second point is that we're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged.
Meanwhile, Lavrov called the talks very useful, adding that the two sides did not just listen, but heard each other.
Разговор был, я считаю, очень полезный. Мы не просто слушали, но и слышали друг друга. И у меня есть основания полагать, что американская сторона стала лучше понимать нашу позицию, которую мы на основе многократных выступлений президента Путина подробно на конкретных примерах изложили в очередной раз.
The talks came just as Russia announced a major new demand for NATO to scrap its 2008 promise to one day give Ukraine membership and for Kyiv to agree to neutrality. However, the Kremlin also said that Ukraine has a sovereign right to join the European Union, but that this sovereignty does not apply to military alliances. Conditions were discussed for a potential Trump-Putin meet, but no date has been set yet. Ukraine's absence from the negotiating table has sparked concerns in Kyiv and among European allies. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that any outcomes from talks without Kyiv's involvement would be unacceptable. Samay Afsar, NDTV World.
Я переконаний, для України, для нашого регіону і для Європи принципово, щоб будь-які перемовини щодо закінчення війни відбувались не за спиною у ключових суб'єктів, яких зачіпають наслідки російської агресії.
India and Qatar held bilateral talks on Tuesday, engaging to elevate the strategic partnership. Prime Minister Modi led the talks with the Emir of Qatar. After meeting, Prime Minister said that they had a very productive discussion and have elevated ties with the strategic partnership.
The warmth in ties evident from Prime Minister Modi's personal welcome for the Emir of Qatar to the ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan. All this reflecting in the outcomes of the second visit by the Emir of Qatar. India-Qatar ties have been elevated to a strategic partnership. 2 agreements and 5 MOUs were inked between the two nations after Prime Minister Modi and the Emir of Qatar held delegation-level talks.
Both sides have today agreed to elevate the relationship to a strategic partnership, and India and Qatar have signed an agreement in this regard today. 2 agreements and 5 memorandums of understanding have been signed during the state visit of His Highness the Amir.
Qatar, a key energy supplier to India, plays a crucial role in meeting the country's LNG needs. The elevation of ties is expected to pave the way for deeper engagement in strategic sectors, including infrastructure and technology-driven collaborations.
Traditionally, पहले ऐतिहासिक तरीके से देखें तो गत 15-20 वर्षों में साधारणतः ऑयल और गैस और या एनर्जी से संबंधित व्यापार बढ़ता रहा. अब दोनों देश नई टेक्नोलॉजीज पर, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस पर अपना संबंध बढ़ाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं.
The visit of Emir of Qatar happened at a time when West Asia is facing major conflict between Israel and Hamas, and the issue was discussed during the meeting.
Naturally, the Middle East situation and the evolving situation over there came up for discussions. Both sides conveyed their mutual positions that we have on the Israel-Hamas issue.
Sheikh Tamim's visit, his first to India in almost a decade, marks the reset of bilateral ties following strains caused by the incarceration of 8 Indian Navy veterans in Qatar 2 years ago.
Regarding the Navy official who is still over there, I would like to just mention that his matter still remains sub judice in the local courts in Qatar.
As India deepens its ties with the Gulf, the visit reinforces Qatar's role as a key partner in the region. With fresh agreements signed and economic ambitions set high, the next few years will be crucial in shaping this evolving partnership. With Abhishek Datta and Mohammad Ghazali, Bureau Report, NDTV.
President Draupadi Murmu hosts dinner for Qatar Amir in presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The dinner was at the Rashtrapati Bhavan and was also attended by Adani Group Chairman Gautam Adani. President of India was the host of this dinner for Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani.
We invite India's investors and entrepreneurs to explore the full potential of Qatar's economy in infrastructure, technology, and beyond. and we are ready to take decisive steps to fast-track negotiations for a new bilateral investment promotion and protection agreement. Moreover, we seek to revitalize the Trade, Economic and Technical Joint Commission, ensuring that our economic ties are not just maintained, but strengthened with clear direction, real action and measurable results.
Almost a fortnight after the Bharatiya Janata Party emerged victorious in the Delhi Assembly elections, the new Chief Minister of Delhi and the Council of Ministers are yet to be decided, although the oath-taking date has been finalized. That will be on Thursday. The decision is likely to be announced on Wednesday, when the new BJP legislative party is scheduled to meet as per the party sources. Five people have been arrested, including 3 directors of a private university in the Nepali students' assault case. The Bhubaneswar police have arrested 5 persons, including 3 directors of KIIT University, on the charges of assaulting students hailing from Nepal following a protest over suicide of a female student from the Himalayan country. Remember, this has created quite an uproar as far as this case is concerned, and then it further in fact escalated the situation when the officials from the university were seen and asking the Nepalese students to get out of the campus, which was later revoked. Let me go across to my colleague Prabhakar, who's joining us with more details on this story. Prabhakar, what are the charges which have been brought against these individuals?
See, we haven't gone through the FIR, so we don't know actually what charges have been pressed against them. But 5 of the directors of the kids' university, they were arrested and they were taken to the local police station over there, after which they were given bail. So they technically now are released on bail and they are back into the campus. So remember, it was after the intervention of the Nepalese government and the Nepal Prime Minister who intervened into this matter, and 2 of the officials of the Nepali embassy from New Delhi, they were dispatched to Odisha to intervene in this matter. Remember, this kids' university management had issued a letter for all the Nepali students over there who were protesting against the death of one of their friends. They were asked to vacate the campus immediately with immediate effect, and they were asked to go back to their homes. That order has been reversed now, we are told. And now the police has also swung into action. The Odisha government has taken this matter with utmost seriousness after the Nepali government has intervened into it, and central government has also now become very active in this particular matter. So as far as the charges are concerned, we don't know what charges in particular have been pressed against them. But 5 of them, they were taken under custody, they were taken to the local police station, and now they have been released on bail.
Prabhakar, what is the situation in the university at this moment as far as these protests are concerned?
No, as far as the protests are concerned, the protest, we are told, has subsided now. The students are there in the university. A few of them had left after this letter was issued. They are also being called back now by the management of kids' university. So all the students who had not vacated the campus so far, they are all there, and they would be staying in the campus. The management has assured them that no further coercive action would be taken against them, and so they can easily resume their studies. As far as the inquiry in this particular suicide case is concerned, the Odisha government has assured the government of Nepal through their officials who had visited them that the police would take this matter and investigate this matter with utmost seriousness.
Thank you for joining us with all those details, Prabhakar, reporting on this story. Now, the political exchange over the national education policies 3-language formula has intensified in Tamil Nadu, even as the DMK took out a massive protest against the central government in Chennai, claiming the imposition of Hindi under the NEP. The BJP has launched a counter door-to-door signature campaign in favor of the policy. The contention is over 3-language policy, which the centre says has no element of imposition of Hindi. The third language could be any other Indian language, whereas the DMK has turned it down and has said that this entire attempt is to impose Hindi in Tamil Nadu.
तमिलनाडु में अनेक स्कूलों में अभी भी त्रिभाषी फॉर्मूला में पढ़ाई हो रहा है. जितने सारे CBSE स्कूल है तमिलनाडु में जितने सारे स्कूल है उसमें सीबीएसई पढ़ाया जा त्रिभाषी माध्यम से पढ़ाया जा रहा है, लेकिन वो स्टूडेंट की आग्रह के ऊपर है। किसी को जबरदस्ती पढ़ाया नहीं जाता है। एक आजाद भारत में कोई भी भाषा को किसी के ऊपर लादा नहीं जा सकता है, कोई भी भाषा को इसे रेस्ट्रिक्ट किया नहीं जा सकता है।
Now the main problem in the state of Tamil Nadu is political parties unanimously saying no, third language is Hindi, and they're trying to push Hindi into Tamil Nadu. That is where the problem is, because it is a blatant lie. When more number of students in private schools are studying a third language as a medium, why are you denying it to a government school? The political parties want a certain class not to come up in life. But having studied in our state from 1965, the politics of the state has revolved around language, has revolved around opposing Hindi.
How can he say that this is a concurrent list and the states have every power? But he says that three-language formula should be followed. If that is the case, he should stop funds for all the Hindi language speaking states, because they are not studying any third language. They are not even studying the second language. I don't know how many schools are teaching English in those states. Let him stop funds for them, then let him come to Tamil Nadu.
All right, that's all the time that we have in this edition. News and updates will continue here. Stay tuned.